And in the part one, during part one, this is the way it should go. It should go in it. The ideal for part one is that we'll start in the fall, but it can happen in the spring. So the dates that are listed in your handbook are for the fall.
Right.
And during part one, the intern should come in, should be on time, about 2 days a week. They should fulfill a minimum of 25 days.
Okay.
Okay. Some of them have divided it up into hours, but it ends up being about 25 days for the part one. They begin observing. They're looking for your classroom procedures, looking at how you do lesson planning, looking at how you do teaching. Everything is about them watching you. We tell them to collect an internship binder, and, make an internship binder, and in that binder, they are to those things that they see that you're doing that they think, oh man, that's really cool. I want to ask her about that. I really like that. I think I'd like to be able to use that teaching strategy. They ask you for copies of it. They put it in their binder.
Okay.
And then when we come, we look at their binder and we see the things that they've collected that they were impressed that you did. Then they're to practice writing lesson plans with you. Even though we've told them how we think they should write lesson plans, we've looked at Maryland standards. We've looked at the InTask standards. We've looked at the Hunter lesson planning format, the format lesson planning, multiple intelligences format. And we've said, this is what we think. It's not about what we say, it's about what you say as to how the lesson plan should be done.
Okay.
So we should see evidence of that in the binder as
Okay.
well. That's the opportunity for them to work with small groups. And you decide when she's ready to work with the
Okay.
small groups. You decide which groups she's ready to work with. You decide whether or not together, whether or not she should be working with the math groups or the reading groups, or whether or not she should just be working one-on-one. And then you give her feedback based on that.
Okay.
Then if you think it's okay, when you think it's okay, during this part one time, she'll teach just a few mini lessons. And we mean just a few mini lessons as well. And then you go through the lesson planning with her and the teaching strategies that will be done during the mini lesson.
Okay.
Some of the things that you will be doing while she's doing the observation period is that you'll be giving her feedback, constant feedback of what it is. It was a good idea when you tried to work that out during recess. However, I think you should do this. So please give her feedback. Ashley's very good at accepting feedback. She will not receive it in a negative way, okay? And then during this time, we need two formal observations. These are not evaluations. These are simply observations of things that you saw that she did that you just thought, I'm just going to give you some feedback on this while I'm observing you observing me. Okay. And we try to divide those observations. Up so that it's that you're doing one in 1 month and then one in the next month. Okay. All right. Then the initial evaluation, and that's the initial evaluation. After you've done the observations and given her feedback, we have an evaluation form in there that you would do with her, and I'll go over that form with you in just a few minutes. Then we have what's called the part two. That's the balance of the 100 days, because it's a total of 100 days. It starts with the 25 days, and then after you've done that initial feedback, that initial evaluation, then we go into, she should still be observing, but now she's actually modeling you with the students when you're out sick, when you're at a meeting, when you step out the door. The students should not see much difference between what you're doing and what she's doing, because she is modeling you, because it's easier on the students, that, when she's modeling, when she's doing your classroom management plan, when she's doing your discipline procedures, when she's doing it. So we want her to continue to do that. Then she starts slowly taking over the lessons, because you're leading into the 2-week takeover. So we try to have it, it works best probably if that 2-week takeover is within a 6-week period. So you start it for the first 2 weeks. So you give her the reading class, all of she starts to do all the reading. Then you add to that a couple of days later all the math and the social studies or however that, and eventually she'll have all 2 weeks. And then after those 2 weeks, then you start easing it out, taking it back, so that it's better for the students if they realize, okay, we have not missed a beat. We understand what was going on with Ms. Affam, and we understand what's going on with Ms. Conk, and we are not then going to be hurt in any way because Ms. Affam was teaching and Ms. Conk was teaching, because it all worked together, and the children should be able to see that. Okay, if we're doing the 2-week, if we're doing the part two in the spring and part one in the fall, we need to make sure that the part two is completely done by April, by the first week in April.
Okay.
Because our graduation is our dates, we actually want all the grades need to be in by April 14. Okay, so we try to make the time frame to fit within that, and I'll take some questions from you in just a minute. Okay, so during that time, part 2 takeover, when she's going into the takeover, you're still doing observations on her. However, then we get into what's called the midterm evaluation and then the final evaluation. So let's go ahead and let's jump to those forms. The difference between the observation forms, I think they're on page 26 in your book.